All right, quick heads up before we begin. What you are about to watch is not just a normal YouTube video. It is a real coaching call from inside of my Servant Leader Academy. It's real agents with real objections, with real deals on the line. Nothing here is scripted and nothing is cleaned up. My name is Rankin and I've sold over 1,000 homes in my career, and every single week I have multiple calls like this with agents and we fine-tune their business together live. So don't watch this like a spectator. Grab a pen. When you hear something that you like and you resonate with, write it down and use it on your next call. All right, let's get after it. Let's get into some skill training, guys. I want to make sure I do this. So I'm going to break you guys up into groups, but I want to show you something first. Now, I've showed this to a couple of people. I think I showed it to Nick, Pedro, and one other person that's not actually, one other person, he's not in here, just to get a little bit of feedback from it. Now, I can't release everything to you yet because I'm planning on, we're going to do a big boot camp in September at some point. Okay, either September or early October, but this is going to be a questioning boot camp, helping you guys create really good questions, knowing how to think of them, because how many people in here would like to be able to think of questions like I do?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what I've done, I'm going to give you a little piece of that right now to help you guys in your calls. Now, what I did is I created frameworks for every single question I could think of. I spent like 3 hours sitting in front of a piece of paper, writing down every framework of every question that I could think of asking on a phone call. There's different versions. There's different ways to ask it. All you have to do is plug in the X and the Y's. Okay, this is not a script. This is not anything like a script. These are questions that you can practice and you have to look at before you call, as you're sitting by yourself at the airport, whenever you're thinking of, okay, what do I need to do to practice? This list, I want you guys to look at it. I want you guys to read it and go, okay, what kind of questions can I create with these frameworks? And the more you can learn them, the better you're going to think of it whenever you're on a call. Understood? So I'm going to share my screen with you and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you the PDF to this. So then when we break up into rooms, we're going to role play. We're going to practice. And I want you guys to practice asking these types of questions, overcoming objections with them, right? So here's what I'm going to do. Again, there's 3 pages worth that you guys can use. So let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. This is called conversational questioning. Now, as you guys know, and I have it written here, the best questions are created from the context of the conversation. So here's the frameworks that you can leverage to create those great questions when leading the prospect into an appointment. So the conversion chain that I show you is going to be your main source of guidance. But as you're going down the chain, you're going to have to know how to ask questions based on what they said, correct? So that is what you're looking at. So to get them to expand, here's a bunch of different good ways to do that, right? What do you mean when you say X? What do you mean exactly? Can you give me an example of what you mean when you say X? Can you help me understand what that means? Repeat the last 2 to 3 words of the question. And I'm sure you're telling me that for a good reason. Tell me more about this. You guys get the hint of this, right? This is to get them to expand. Out of curiosity, what makes you say that? What makes you bring that up? What made you say that specifically? And then the ABC. And you say that because of A, because of B or C or something else. We all know these frameworks a little bit because we talk about them all the time. Now they're on paper for you. So that's to get them to expand. Hey, real quick, if you are getting value from what you're watching, understand something. This is just one call. Inside of my academy, we do this multiple times a week, every single week. Live coaching calls, just like the one you're watching. You bring the objections you're struggling with. You bring the deals that you're working on, the conversations that you may be stuck on. You can bring the systems, the follow-up, the listing presentations, anything that you need help with, and I will personally help you work on them live. Okay, if you want to be in that room, all you have to do is click the link below and you're going to chat directly with either me or my team. You're going to tell us where you're at, where you're trying to go, and we'll tell you if you're a good fit or not. Because I'm definitely not the coach for everyone, and what I teach is not for everyone either. Okay, but if you're serious about doing the work, about growing your business, I'd love to have a conversation to see if it's a good fit. If it's not, no big deal. All right, let's get back to the call. This is transitioning into a good question. So have you noticed whenever I'm role playing and calling with you guys, I'm always saying, can I ask you a question about that?
Oh yeah.
Can I ask you a blunt question? Can I ask you a personal question? Can I ask you something without you getting upset? You remember how I always say that stuff? Yes? Okay.
Yep.
That is all these. Hey, can I ask you something and you promise not to get upset? This might be a silly question. Do you mind if I ask? These are all things, if you can get good at remembering this, you're going to be able to grab it whenever you're on your calls. I want to ask you a question, but I don't want you to get upset with me. Do you mind if I ask? Like all of these are transitioning into this next questions I'm going to show you. These are deeper thinking questions right here. Okay. I know you mentioned X. What would need to happen for you to consider Y? Okay. If X was possible, what would that mean? If it wasn't possible, what would that mean? If I said X, what would you say? If I told you X, what would that surprise you? Like all of these are the exact frameworks that you hear me come up with when I'm talking to you guys. What would X look like to you? What would need to happen for you to be able to do X? Right? When you asked your agent X, what do they say? If you asked your agent X, what do you think they would say? Do you guys get the hang of this?
Mm-hmm.
This is the frameworks.
I think this is exactly what I needed.
Me
This is what a
too.
lot of people need. Okay? Think about, so for example, when somebody says, hey, we have an agent. Okay, fair enough. Most people do. Do you mind if I ask you a question about that? Right. If you did decide, right here, if you did decide to maybe interview a different agent, what would you need to see to know it was the right choice? If you did decide to interview an agent, what would you need to see for it to be worth it? Like all of that is here. All you have to do is plug and play. The next thing is now evoking deeper emotion. Deeper emotion. So as they're opening up, as they're talking to you, this is the emotional grinder. How long has this been going on for? How are you handling that? How did it feel when X happened? How does it make you feel knowing X? What did you do to try to fix it? When you tried to fix it, did it work? Did it impact you personally in any way? If X was possible, how would that make you feel? These are all emotional grinder questions. All right. And then you have, lastly, the challenging questions. Is that a reason we shouldn't continue talking? Right? They say something, push back. Is that a reason we shouldn't talk? If I told you X, I get the feeling that you'd Y. If I told you that I was an agent, I get the feeling you're probably going to hang up. Am I right? That's the frameworks of this. If I told you that it wasn't the market, I get the feeling you'd probably tell me I'm lying. Am I right? So even if X, I get the feeling you'd still Y. Have you given up that there is X? Have you given up that there's a buyer out there? Have you given up that an agent could actually help you? Is it fair to assume that X is just not a priority for you? Is it fair to assume that selling right now just isn't a priority for you? You see, if I told you X, would you actually believe me? I'm assuming you're asking blank because why? And then, oh, but you don't actually need X, right? Well, we want to sell. Da, da, da. Well, I know you want to sell, but you don't actually need to sell. You see how those are pushing away questions? Do you mind if I ask why X despite Y? So do you mind if I ask why in the world would you meet with me despite 1,000 other agents calling you? Do you remember me asking you guys these questions and bringing these up? This is where this is how they're created.
So we need to know when to interject from what group, when in the convo. So we have to really
Just study them. Yeah, study these questions.
know when to use what.
So the way you get good at it is by looking at these questions here and thinking, when can I use this in a conversation?
Okay.
How many ways can I use this in a conversation? Right? So
Yeah, because
why not keep the home instead of sell it?
Yeah.
Right there. Look, usually when somebody tells me to call them back, that typically means that they're just being polite and they don't want to talk to me. Is that what's happening here? You can be honest. See? Right? You'd like to sell, but you don't actually need to sell. Right? I get the feeling even if you knew an agent could help you now, I mean, you would probably still never consider that. These are all like challenge questions. Let's pretend we got together and you saw a strategy that made sense. And afterwards, you felt like it would actually get the home sold. Are you saying you're closed minded to that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I get the feeling you're just being polite. And what you really mean is this. Am I right? Call me in 30 days. I don't mind to call you, but I do get the feeling you're just being really polite. And what you really mean is you really don't want me to call you again. Am I right? Am I wrong? No, no, no. We really do. You see? Everybody's smiling. Would this help you guys?
Yes.
Okay. It's going in the chat. This is just a little piece of what I'm launching in a couple months or in a month or so. Because not only am I going to give you these questions, but every single lead source, I'm going to give you the best questions to ask them. It's not going to be in order, but it's going to be all the best questions to get them to open up to you. There you go. There's the PDF. Go ahead and download that. And I am going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to break you guys up into some rooms and I want us to role play and I want us to try to practice asking these type of questions. Don't explain, don't defend, just work on asking questions. When you get an objection, remember, normalize it or actually find out what they really mean, then normalize it, diffuse it, then reframe it. A lot of those questions that are getting them to open up are reframe questions.